כל החיים משורה לשחרר עד המוות בימים אדומים של פרעות ודמים בלילות השחורים של ייאוש בערים בכפרים את דגלנו נרים ועלה הגנה וחידוש לא יעשו פשוט כהמון עבדים ולשתות במחאה לגבינו רצוננו להיות לעולם נבואים חלומנו למות בארצנו בימים אדומים של פרעות ודמים בלילות השחורים של ייאוש בערים בכפרים את דגלנו נרים ועלה הגנה וחידוש
Shavua Tov. Good evening and welcome back to the Shofar, or welcome to the first Episode 5786. Just realized I had that effect on, so we'll go ahead and turn that off. Um, so I hope everyone had a meaningful and beautiful Rosh Hashanah. Um, Hopefully you were able to go and to hear the shofar. If you were not able to hear it, still try and hear it if you can. And if you do Tashli, obviously continue to do it in whatever tradition you normally do. But I did want to say that if you don't normally do Tashli, um, I recommend you start trying it this year. What is Tashli? Tashli is a ritual. It's more of a mintag than a halakha, but it helps. It is something that we do in majority of Jewish communities. Not every single Jewish community does Tashlich, but a lot. And essentially, what is Tashlich? It is renouncing your sins and bad behavior, transgressions of the past year, which was in this case 5785, and hoping to renew yourself into a more dedicated Jew who will no longer engage in those types of transgressions um, in the coming year, you know. So a lot of different people, um, as we know, have their own weird interpretations and do different things. Some people I've learned have been doing um, some sort of new compost version of Tashli, but essentially you go to a body of water and you take either some sticks and some leaves. Apparently, some people use apple peels, and you cast them off as you would cast off these sins of the preceding year. There is a bracha that goes along with Tashli. Let's see if I know where it is, but well, in this book anyway. But you can find the bracha online, obviously, as you can find any other bracha. Um, I don't know where it is in this book. It's about a paragraph, short paragraph, and I recommend you do it. Start doing it if you have not been doing this previously. I recommend you start, and let that be a little bit of an inspiration to start doing other mitzvot that you maybe, you know, have not been doing so far. Rededicate yourself to the Jewish idea. We'll talk about this again at Hanukkah time, but when we have Rosh Hashanah, they say on Rosh Hashanah it's written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. So right now we're in between the two, and you're kind of supposed to be on your best behavior during this period, these 10 days between the head of the year and the Day of Atonement. So why not uh, pick up more Jewish practices during this time? Best time, right? Um, if not now, when? As Hillel said. So, with that in mind, I would like to recommend also that moving forward in the year to come, you look back at your own views, choices, behaviors, and essentially don't look at like what you've done wrong and say, "Oh man, I'm so terrible. This is bad." You need to look at it and say, "What can I do better?" Because if you start to view yourself as bad, well, you may start to view yourself as irredeemable and then not do anything at all. So the idea is to say, how can I improve? How can I move forward in the next year and make Hashem and my parents and proud, and make yourself and the Jewish people proud. So I wanted to talk about some people who have feet in multiple uh, muds. Let's put it this way. Uh, some people still, Jewish people, we're talking about, some people still uh, have friends, associates, and networks um, which are very opposed to the Jewish idea, very opposed to Zionist concepts and Zionism itself, you know. And I think that's something that not enough people have really truly dealt with. And there's too many people still in their shells and kind of putting up with uh, people from the other side. And I'm going to tell you this year moving forward, maybe that should be a good New Year's resolution for you to consider is to not put up with this insolence, with this evil that we call the pro Palestine, the anti Zionist, the anti Jew, anti Semite, whatever you want to call them, the other side, the enemy. And that's what they are. So they can't be your friend, they're the enemy. You must remove yourself from networks which involve these type of so-called people. They're not your friends. I'm gonna put on some background music. Try and be. Is that inspiring? Listen to the Hayalim Almanim. Lovely tune. But realistically, why? Why would you talk to these people? Why? The only potential reason, okay, is money. Let's be honest. The only potential reason that any Jew still deals with somebody who supports Palestine is some sort of financial obligation. And we're talking about people outside of your own family. Obviously, if your mother believes in it or something, it's difficult to avoid, contact with your family, and you shouldn't avoid contact with your family. But we're talking about in social circles, okay? So if you were, let's say, in a band, you're a jazz musician, and you were in a band with a guy, and he's a really good player, and he helped you put on some of the best shows, but he believes in Palestine. He's no longer a good player. Forget, he doesn't know how to play anything. He's garbage. He sucks at his instrument. Because you know why he sucks? because he is fueling all his musical energy with evil. He's no longer good. You can't call him a good musician when he's an evil musician. So here's another example. Maybe you're on a even look. You can even come across these that are fellow Jews. Now, when you come across them that are fellow Jews, obviously you have a responsibility to try and outreach to them and do a little bit of kiruv. But if they're going to completely reject that and just, double down on being shitty and being a capo and an opponent of the Jewish nation, then, well, you're going to have to separate from them. You're going to have to tell them, look, we can't be on the, the squash team or whatever you guys are on together. Say you're in a choir at the Reformed Temple, and the rabbi or the cantor or the rabbi cantor mohel lady has some feelings about some things. You're going to have to say, well, I can't participate in this group. And you're going to have to make these type of calls, and sometimes they're going to be uncomfortable. But life is not about comfort. Torah is not about comfort. Existence is not about comfort. Survival is not about comfort. Okay, you get comfort once you do all the other things that are your responsibility. You have to do the hard things first before you can be comfortable. Like just the same thing. You get to chill at the end of the day after you work. Let's not play games, folks. People who believe in the Palestine, they're confused, and you can try and educate them, but if they double down, then they're not really confused. They're purposely being evil. If you know somebody who otherwise seems like a good-hearted person and normally follows the right thing, but somehow fell in line with this Palestine thing, you try to reach out and say, hey, look, I have to confront you about this. This is a lie. This is not true. This is what's going on. Yada, 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 and lay and red pill them, okay? If they refuse the medicine, you can't help them. Just like people with any type of illness. If they refuse the medicine, what are you going to do? You're going to forcibly inject them with the truth? It's not possible. You're going to pop their brain open and drop some info in? No. Offer them and say, hey, here's the real information. Here's the truth. Here's the real deal. I'm not going to candy coat anything. I just want you to know the truth. And so I can say, hey, I told you, right? That's fine. But if they don't want to listen, you cannot continue to act like they did. They must go. We're not talking about whatever position regarding the so-called Palestinians over there. Let's talk about the Palestinian supporters in your friend circle. They must go. They're not your friends. They're probably informing on you to their little network, and they may not even know that they're actually being informant. They may just be gossiping. Yeah, I have a friend who's a Zionist. Oh yeah, they're doing some blah 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 this weekend, and then boom, just passing conversation. Let's slip your information to people who want to kill you. They don't want to debate with you. They don't want to vote you out. They don't want to have a slightly different economic policy. They want you to go in the grave dead. All right, so let's not play fucking games here. They're not your friends. I'm tired of finding so and so is upset that my friend still believes in Palestine. Okay, he's not your fucking friend. How many times did you tell him 3 times and he still didn't understand? Then move the fuck on. He's a lost cause, and you need to find some real friends, some real people who believe in God, and even if they don't believe in God, at least let them believe that your people deserve a place to live. If someone does not believe that your people deserve a safe place to live, they do not care about you. They will never care about you like a true friend would care about you. They're always going to have that, well, he's a Zionist. Bullshit. Well, he's a Jew. He has a lot of weird ideas. They're going to have that. You cannot say, well, we agree on everything except the Israel thing. That's the most important thing. Because he's saying that you, as a Jew, have less rights than every other fucking people on the earth. Fuck that person. He's not your friend. She's not your friend. Like the Specials had a song in the 80s. If you have a racist friend, now's the time for your friendship to end. He ain't your brother. She ain't your sister. Well, if you have an anti-Zionist friend, now is the time for your friendship to end. He ain't your brother. She ain't your sister. After 2 years of this, the struggle has been going on for millennia. Okay? But after 2 years of this propaganda, of them holding the hostages, anybody who's still supporting that stuff supports evil. It's not October 8th and they don't know what happened and they're just surprised that there's a war and they're just out there against war. No, they're not just against war. They're against Jews. I mean, generally speaking, I'm against war. But am I going to say, oh, well, when you're attacked, don't fight back? That's suicidal. That's not peaceful, that's suicidal. The idea that being attacked should not automatically trigger a self-defense is insane. Who thinks that way? Crazy people. Or people who want to virtue signal and want to say some bullshit and wouldn't actually do that themselves. They want to put that onto the Jews. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do this. But when you go and ask them, well, if somebody broke into your neighborhood with guns and hang glided in and started blowing everything up and burning everything down and kidnapping people, would you go back and kill them and try to get your people back? Most people would go and kill their whole fucking family, not half of people, most people, a majority of people. Okay, if somebody came and took their family and killed a shit ton of their family, they would be pissed enough and they would understand that justice needed to be served. Most people would do that in that situation, but yet when it comes to the Jews, it's not okay. So if your friend thinks that way, fuck your friend, he's not your friend. Stop playing games. Moving forward in this coming year, what are you going to do more for the Jewish people? Are you going to join the JDL? Are you going to help out your local synagogue? Are you going to help out the IDF? Are you going to go join the IDF? Are you going to do something? Or are you just going to sit there and stare at your fucking phone? Are you just going to sit there and scroll through and look at these influencers and be influenced by them to do what? What the fuck is a Zionist influencer? I'm sure a lot of them are nice people, but what is this concept even? Influence? If you're a Zionist, you're already a Zionist. So how is this person influencing you to be a Zionist? They're not changing anybody's mind to become a Zionist. They're just giving maybe better arguing talking points to turn out your pockets with the tallies. You know what Zionist influencers need to be doing is teaching people how to use weapons. I'm on the YouTube right now, so we're kind of limited on the weapon scope and censorship bit. But from what I understand on other social media, you can do that. And I may start doing some of that myself, honestly, but I don't have the funding that some of these people do that where they can have some super fucking hits, I think people's priorities are still off. After 2 years after October 7th, people's priorities are still off. They're still worried about turning out our pockets, trying to convince so-and-so that, we historically... Don't tell me that all of a sudden, the Bible, you never heard of it. They're gaslighting you. You look like a fucking fool trying to explain to some guy, well, you see, in the biblical era, there was no Palestine. They fucking know that. Who never heard of the Bible? Really? Even if they might not agree with it. They obviously don't if they're anti-Zionist. But they have fucking heard of it, okay? You're not being the first person to tell them about the Bible. I don't know if you think we're like being some 1950s Christian missionaries going out in the jungle and finding an uncontacted tribe or something. But the people have heard of the Bible. You don't have to fucking tell them about it. They know there's no Palestine in the Bible. They know that. They know damn well there's no Palestine in the Bible. They don't care. They don't agree with the Bible. So stop telling them, well, the Bible says the blah, 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 blah. They don't care. They're atheists. They're Satanists. They're demonic. They're freaks. They are Islamists. Nothing that you say is going to change a hardcore communist or Palestine supporter. So stop turning out your pockets. People are still doing this after 2 years. And then the other problem is not just turning out your pockets for the enemy, but throwing adulation at any fucking Gentile that sort of signals that they're not supporting Palestine now. Oh, Azalea Banks. Oh, she said fuck Palestine. Oh, she's the greatest. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Now she's on there talking about she supported Mondama. Then she tweeted that she supported Curtis Sliwa. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just some idiot fucking pop singer. Everybody's clicking on all this stuff. Oh, she's just promoting herself to Jews because she has a stereotype of Jews in her mind that we all have money and we're going to fund her fucking career. These people are not your fucking friends. You get, what was the one last year? At UCLA, Milagro Jones. Remember that guy? Oh yeah, he got stomped by the people at the encampment, so he made a career out of saying that these encampments are bad, and now I'm a Zionist. They even gave this guy a free trip to Israel. This is apparently the fucking everybody that's a boy gets a free trip to Israel. Think about how many Jews in America saving up trying to go to Israel. But never mind that. Let's some guy, free trip to Israel. Several months later, he's supporting Palestine again, saying that you can't support the starvation of Gaza. Fickle people. They don't share our beliefs. Most of them don't even have any beliefs. There's other ones too. There's oh God, I can't remember his name now, but he was a neutral Arab that was saying that he was a two-stater and, maybe blah, blah, blah. And he supported Zionism, but also something. And then you read his stuff in Arabic talking to his own audience, and he's like, the starvation of Gaza must stop. But they're not your friend. Like I said, if you meet your fellow Jew and you believe some of the propaganda, educate them. But if they double down, separate. Step 1, educate. Step 2, observe. Step 3, if they have not changed during this observation, separate. That's all you can do. I mean, you can't. What are you going to do? Like I said, you can't inject them with the truth. Start preparing yourself for a world where nobody is your friend. You don't know who you can trust. I'm not saying to be paranoid, scared of everyone or something, but always be ready. Acquire firearms and the proper licensing required in your municipality. Acquire training for those firearms if you don't know how to use them properly. Or even if you haven't in a long time, brush up on your firearms skills. Never hurts to brush up. These are the type of things you need to be working on. Secure your perimeter. Make sure that your home is secure, that you don't have easy ways to sneak in, and that your children know not to let people in. Things like this, because you have to be prepared for a world where none of these people are your friends and there are many enemies. Now, coming up, just after Yom Kippur, the 7th of October. The Palestinian movement is going to escalate this October 7th. They have 100 different flyers. They will be attacking Israeli consulates and other Israeli-owned facilities and politicians they consider to be Zionists, facilities they consider to be Zionist. This is not something that I think. This is a plan they've laid out. If you work at one of these places or frequent one of these places, be ready. Instead of worrying about turning out your pockets and seeing how many people can you maybe convince that Israel just deserves to exist, instead of that shit, start worrying about next week. Are you going to be able to defend your family? Do you have enough food? Do you have supplies? These are realistic concerns. Worrying about how to make a bunch of slides on your social media explaining the history of the Jewish people and why the land truly belongs to us. We're past that point now. Forget your slides. You need to learn how to slide back the hammer on your gun. Forget your little infographics. Forget trying to crop little pictures and make sure they fit in the squares so that everybody can understand the messaging of why Israel deserves to exist. Okay? Stop looking through social media and start looking through the scope. Practice. Aim. Dry fire. Whatever you can do. They're coming and they're not friendly. So think about, my friend who supports Palestine. And when you see what's coming this October 7th, how they act, think that your friend supports that. Is that your friend? He's not your fucking friend. He's your enemy. He's informing on you to your enemy every time he gossips. Every time he runs his mouth about, I have a friend that's a Zionist, he's such an asshole, blah, blah, blah. He's telling what the Zionists are doing to the other side. Cut him off. And if you have to cut him, but cut him off. He's not your fucking friend. She's not your friend. If you have an anti-Zionist friend, now is the time for your friendship to end. People are not ready for the level of crazy that these people are. I've been trying to warn everybody for a long time, but and people feel like I'm just trying to fearmonger to them, and I really try not to fearmonger. I try to, the stuff that they try to put out to spook everybody, I try to tell everybody to, don't look at the media, don't get scared out of control. But I'm telling you, what's a real threat is how crazy these people are. Look at all this violence. Look at all these shootings. The Washington, D.C. Israeli staff was at the Holocaust Museum. The guy in Minnesota shot a bunch of children that were Christian. They weren't Jews, but we still mourn for their loss, and he still had Nazi stuff against Zionism on his gun. That's fucking crazy. He shot children, bro. What? We're not just talking about Hamas. We're talking about these people in America. We're talking about these crazy-ass Palestine supporters. And if your friend supports Palestine, he supports that guy who dressed up like a girl and shoot a bunch of kids. The other guy, screwing the guy dressed up like a girl, shot Charlie Kirk in the neck. They're insane. There's nothing wrong with admitting that there's a political movement that is insane. You're not the shady one for saying that. It doesn't make you racist or homophobic or bigoted or some shit by admitting that the pro-Palestine movement is full of mental cases. Get comfortable knowing, saying, and admitting that, because until you admit that to yourself, you won't treat them like they're totally unhinged, and you might not, you might put your guard down a little bit. You should keep your guard up. Do not put your guard down. They're fucking nuts, man. They're insane. They think that hurting people over here will help their movement. They think that somehow that will get them a state. And then they also just have mental illness and frustrations. They're dealing, they're up in the club dealing with their gender, and they're not fucking normal. They're on drugs, a lot of them. Everything from street drugs to SSRIs to gender affirming care. These people are pumped up with chemicals. They're pumped up with radicalization content. And most of them are not that stable to begin with. So this is what we're dealing with. This coming October 7th, they are going to escalate. Be ready. Now, of course, they're probably not going to accomplish as big of a hullabaloo as they want to, because they would love to just destroy the whole fucking country on October 7th. All right? But they're going to destroy some shit. It's inevitable. So be prepared, and moving forward, before Yom Kippur, cut off any so-called friends that are part of that movement, because they will let other people in your movement know about your whereabouts. In fact, block them on social media. If you have anybody that knows about your personal whereabouts or your personal life or your personal patterns, like, I get up and get the paper at this time, and I go get my coffee at this time. Anybody who knows your pattern and that is not on our side, block them on social media. Don't talk to them. Get away from them. Don't let them know anything about you for your own safety.